Now, the first paper we present by Dr. Martin Bosola, entitled by the EU legislative proposal on the corporate sustainability due diligence directive in the framework of accompanying measures. Now, I kindly invite Dr. Martina. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Good morning. Vendetta Deraci, Akam Butani. It's an honor to be here with you all, and I would like to particularly thank, I know this has been said, but with really gratitude, the Ethiopian Coffee and Tea Authority for their collaboration, partnership, and in particular Dr. Aduna. I would like also to thank the European Union, the European Commission for their continued support, as well as the Ministry of the Kingdom of the Netherlands. And of course, all the colleagues and partners who made this possible. So in this upcoming session, we will unpack together the EU legislative proposal on the Corporate Sustainability Due Diligence Directive. It's a long name, and that's why you will often hear the acronym, but now we know what this is about, CS3D. And the 3D stands for Due Diligence Directive. Some of you may have heard already about another legislation that is the regulation on deforestation-free product. And at this point, you may think that some of the content on sustainability, on environmental protection of this CS3D remind you a lot about the regulation on deforestation-free product. So I would like to start just a bit to frame the context and to say these are indeed related because they are all part of what the European Union called the Green Deal policy initiatives on global supply chain sustainability, global supply chain such as the coffee supply chain. So to simplify, are indeed part of the same family. They are part of the goals of the action that the European Union and its member states put in place to try to achieve environmental sustainability, what is called the net zero, sustainability in general, so the three axes of sustainability, environment, economic, and social, but they are not the same thing. So I'd like just to clarify this, but they're all part of the Green Deal policy, so there are a lot of synergy. Today we focus indeed on the Corporate Sustainability Due Diligence Directive. This has been adopted. So what implication this has? It means that even if there are still minor changes that can be done to the text, this is now coming because this has been adopted by the European Parliament. So the proposal has been adopted in February 2022, and what is this directive about? It looks at and establishes human rights and environmental due diligence duty for in-scope company. We will unpack during the presentation what this sentence means. But just to know what the directive is about. And the core element, and it's quite a lot of words, but we will see why each of these words is important, is to identify, bring to an end, prevent, mitigate, and account for negative, and here we go back, human rights and environmental impact. Next sentence is very important and we will see why. For company own operation and their subsidiaries and their value chain. So you already see from this very start what this is about and what's the coverage, the term value chain. So in-scope company and the whole value chain. So the aim indeed. Remember that we talked about the Green Deal. The aim of this regulation fit in the overall aim of the Green Deal, so that is foster sustainable and responsible corporate behavior, in particular in the case of human rights and environmental consideration. And also, of course, ensure that business address, it would be possible to say there is never an negative environmental impact, but the issue here is to try to identify, prioritize, and address, take action against this negative impact. So, basically the material scope, the content of the due diligence directive is human rights and environmental impact included in international convention. So the EU, if you want, is not imposing new obligation, but really link this directive to convention, international convention that has already been signed by the partners' government, by the Ethiopian and all the other countries. And they also ask, so there is a list of all these conventions that cover human rights and environmental impact, and they also ask that large European companies try to ensure that inter-business strategy, including their relationship in their value chain, with their supplier, with the traders, up to the partner level, try to fight climate change. What does it mean, fighting climate change? Try to reduce emission, try to reduce CO2 or CO2 equivalent emission. So that the achievement of the Paris Agreement, that was this agreement signed in Paris by all but 2 governments in the world, will be achieved. Now, who is directed to? So this is an EU directive. Who is the in scope, which means who is this directive targeting? The directive is targeting large EU company. You see here the threshold, but without going into much detail, with high turnover, high business in Europe, mid-sized company, and also non-EU company with this large threshold, large turnover in the European Union. Now you may be thinking, okay, then why this is relevant for partner country if they may not be in the direct scope of the directive? So indeed, micro, small enterprises, smaller traders are not concerned directly. But, and here's the relevance, in-scope companies are required to implement the due diligence. We'll see later what these 6 steps are, but due diligence on human rights and environmental impact, on their own operation, and here's the key sentence, as well as establish direct and indirect business relationship. So we have this value chain, this getting together approach. This legislation targets European company, large or medium, or company with large turnover in the European Union, but asks them to do the homework along their value chain to collaborate with all their partners. Now, you often hear, but how does it work with human rights and environmental due diligence? Okay, the key topic are human rights. The key topic is environmental, respect the environment, don't have negative impact. How this is done in practice. So the way that it's framed is to say, okay, it's framed through respecting what is called the OECD. So this is an organization with headquarters in Paris of different states. This 6-step OECD framework. And I want to highlight this is a process. So it's not a one-off that is one country or one company, there is a fault of violation of human rights, that means things are absolutely not running and the legislation is violated. It's a process. It's a process of 6 steps in particular that ask company to embed responsible business conduct into their policy. So do the company, do the cooperative, do the partner have a code of conduct, for example? Yes, no, if not, can we get support to get one and understand the importance of having a code of conduct? And then also how we identify and assess adverse impact. We cannot talk about adverse impact and tackle them if we don't identify them, if we don't know. So address. Then, okay, once this has been identified, this framework asks to put things in place to seize, to stop, to prevent, or mitigate such as adverse impact. And of course, if you take action, you want to monitor what are the results, so that's very important too, and to be able to communicate. So if we talk value chain, if we have a buyer, a roaster, a trader, a cooperative, a farmer, and we take action together or individually, how we can communicate to each other what has been done, what is needed, so this communication part is also important. And then very important indeed, and also in the relationship along the value chain, to provide for or cooperate. So the European company, and that's also where the opportunities come, are asked to engage in cooperation, to support and to work with the value chain partners. So this is often when you hear this 6-step due diligence, the OECD framework, this is what this is about. And of course, this cannot be done, you may have seen appearing the little box there, without a truly participatory way, without engaging with all stakeholders. This is not something can be done by one company alone. We need participatory, human rights and environmental due diligence exercise. Now, we saw the direct in-scope companies are the European counterpart or non-European with a large turnover or certain number of employees in Europe. Indeed, they have to respect. This is a directive, this is mandatory. So without going too much in detail to say there will be administrative supervision and there will be indeed enforcement of this. And in particular, who will be designated to have to supervise compliance are the member states. As I say, the process is still ongoing, so these rules are not 100% defined yet, but the European member state will basically have designate one or more authority to supervise compliance, and that's very, very important to mention. But then there will also be civil liability, and that's again for the in-scope, for the company in direct scope. But remember, they will be asked to give account for all their value chain. And that's why it will be in their interest to make sure the whole value chain comply in order that they can comply. And in particular, I want to draw here, so civil liability will be key for effective enforcement. Indeed, it enables access to remedy also for the victim of abuses. And among the other things, we have to note this, that in the assessment of liability, due account will be taken on investment made and target support provided, as well as any collaboration with other entities to address as adverse impact. And here the importance of communication. So if you have a roster base in Europe, if you have a big company, they are requested to collaboration, and when they may be looked at, are you liable, did you broke any rule, it will be looked, have you been talking with your value chain, have you been supporting your value chain. So that's one of, hopefully, of the good things is the legislation will bring, is more cooperation and also more investment in order to try to collaborate to address the adverse impact. Remember the 6 steps that we saw. So what are the timelines? Why are we here today, and why? I mean, this is an exercise that together also with Ethiopia started a year ago now, this pilot, but now you will hear more and more. So the text, as I was saying, is not final yet, it's still under negotiation, but the proposal has been approved. So it means that it's not a question whether the text will come or not, it's just now a matter of some refinement in the text. Now the timeline is short, that means that it's really been finalized. The final text is expected to 2023, and that's also what we present today is more or less what's going to be indeed in the content. And what happened? Once the European Union adopts, then the different member states have 2 years to transpose this into national laws. Remember, for example, we say that the enforcement is done to national appointed authority. So what does it mean for Ethiopia, for the partners in the coffee sector? It means that this will enter into force in about 2 years. So probably towards the end or during 2026. We are now 2023. The timeline may seem long, but when we think of the amount of work required to comply with this, of collaboration, of understanding, this timeline is not that long. And that's why we need to start taking action to really work together to then be sure that no one, as Larry was saying, is left behind. Of course, this will have some impact. There may be some positive, hopefully there will be positive impact, so there will be more export opportunity for those actors who align export with the regulation. There exists a lot of export potential. We will even see, we did a study under the pilot on this. Also opportunity to improve production process at origin through this collaboration that I was meaning, to make stronger collaboration in the value chain. The legislation push for stronger collaboration. Also, for the European company and roster, and to promote the transition to more sustainable value chain, coffee value chain, other value chain. This is not a value chain specific regulation, but of course, the member states, the European Union are aware that there may be some potential negative impact, and that's why they're working hard. This is, for example, an activity in this context to try to prevent and avoid this unintended consequence. For example, there may be the risk that buyers gravitate towards destination and comply, and this may then leave some regions, some country behind, and that's not what is intended. And then also, of course, the big elephant in the room is the cost. This is costly. It has cost implication. It may impact on the weaker actors. So we need to act now, well ahead of time, also to have this discussion on who pays the cost. Will it all go to the consumer? Are the consumer willing to pay more for their coffee or their product? Because now they, of this. If you ask the average European consumer, are you willing to pay more for, are you willing to know that your coffee comes from human rights respected, have little environmental, no environmental impact? Yes. Are you willing to pay 20 cents more for your coffee? No. So of course, a lot of work has to be done to inform and to raise awareness of the consumer, of the implication, but also to see how to better share the cost, how to cooperate, and there is awareness of this. And so that's part of the things to be done in the next 2 years to discuss this aspect. So we say, okay, there may be negative consequences we want to avoid, we want to do our best to avoid it. There may be positive consequences, that's why the legislation is there in the first place. And because of all this, is in an article of the legislation itself that's foreseen in Article 14. It says, okay, now this directive comes with provision in need of accompanying measure, which means we have time to prepare and we have to identify together. Cannot be Martina going 2 days in mission in a country and say, oh, the priority are this and that. No, we need to identify together, we need to hear the voice of the local stakeholder, and then design the support for company and their value chain partner to fulfill their new obligation. And that's in the law. So that's what we often you will hear, and you hear today, accompanying measure. That's what this is about. Say, let's get ready together, let's identify the priority to be able to do this and work on that. Without going detail, but this is just to show that indeed, at also European level, efforts are made and are done to try to support this accompanying measures. There are also actions that are being taken that are not released yet, but they will be soon. For example, this one-stop shop is facilitation and collection of member state and data sectoral tools on supply chain transparency and stability reporting. Because this is not a new topic. Due diligence in different aspects, environment also, and human rights. So different tools exist. But there may be a scattering, and we don't want a trader or a cooperative having to fill 100 questionnaires. Imagine the implication on cost. So it's important also to map what is already there, what is working less, who is doing what, and that's part of the activity done. Of course, then try to also do, for example, general guidelines to support, especially those what is called high impact sector, and also support activities like the one today, to inform, to support multi-stakeholder and industry scheme. So this is just to say accompanying measure can be a variety of actions, and some of these have to be discussed together, some of these are already on their way, and this is done. This is a snapshot of the mapping work that they are doing. But just to say, again, this is not new. For example, the map we done so far identified that there are already 75 actions on the European Commission wide, addressing at some stage of the value chain some human rights actions. So this is important also to say. And indeed, there are also new action plans specifically on CS3D. DG IMPA is, the European Commission has different departments, like most of the organization and company. DG IMPA is one of those. Indeed, focus on partner countries such as Ethiopia and work in cooperation with other departments that focus on trade, on the environment, and so on. So also the European Union itself is doing the cooperation among departments to simplify, to work on this. This accompanying measure can be looked at global level, so how you provide e-learning on the internet that everyone can access. Of course, at regional level, such as if you take the group of Africa, Caribbean, Pacific states, how you can have the different countries maybe cooperate or doing lessons, also support each other, sharing lessons learned in Latin America. And then it's very, very important not to forget the local level, because if you want to really work together with all actors in the value chain, that's very important, and that's here we speak about also a key role for the EU delegation in the country. And then the EU member state also, they have to play their role. They establish what is called the Team Europe initiative, which is basically a EU partnership or help desk that try to also foster the discussion on this on the EU member state. So yes, there is some theory, but then how do we bridge the theory into the practice of the value chain and back? And then this is a global discussion, global value chain, but we have to look down up to the local dimension. So from theory to practice, from global to local, easier said than done, but that's also why we are here today, to raise awareness on this, to start working together ahead of time, because of course no one can get ready about something that doesn't even know is coming. So it's important to have this discussion. And as part of the accompanying measure of the investment done, there has been some work done in what we call the pilot, our case studies, Larry said before, my colleague Larry said before, on accompanying measure on the EU Sustainability Directive, and in particular to really set the framework, to provide examples on innovative partnership approach for countries and value chain of importance that has been selected as pioneering, as important, and of course the coffee value chain in Ethiopia is among the pilot, has been is part of the pilot selected. And with this I would like to give back the word to my colleague Larry Atipo to just discuss a bit together the concrete example of the pilot. Thank you.